Have you ever noticed something everyone else missed and been too afraid to speak? That question haunted Harper Lane every night, stealing sleep, feeding the insomnia that had plagued her since her mother's death. But on one ordinary morning, her whisper would shatter the silence of a corporate empire and change everything. This is the heartwarming story of a shy girl who saw what experts couldn't see. The 14th floor of Hale and Frontier GIS Corporation hummed with the sterile drone of air conditioning and ambition. In a glass tower where geological data moved billions of dollars, where seismic forecasts shaped the safety of millions, there existed a place most employees never saw: the records room. Harper Lane, 26 years old, sat behind stacks of manila folders and computer screens, her thick glasses sliding down her nose. She was a records clerk, the kind of person people looked through, not at. The kind who tied her hair neatly, dressed in muted colors, and had perfected the art of being unremarkable. This shy girl carried a secret: exceptional memory, meticulous attention to detail, and a gift for reading geological data that most experts would envy. But trauma had taught her that visibility meant vulnerability. A returned document lay on her desk, stamped in red. Seismic risk projection. Revision needed. Harper's hands trembled as she picked it up, a habit born from 3 years of grief. Her mother, a brilliant geologist, had died in a seismic event eerily similar to the 2011 Japan earthquake. The forecast had been wrong. The warning came too late. And Harper had blamed herself ever since. The insomnia started that year. Night after night, she'd replay the data, searching for patterns she should have seen, warnings she should have given. Her doctor mentioned obstructive sleep apnea from stress, but Harper knew the truth. She couldn't sleep because she couldn't forgive herself. Now her lips moved silently as her eyes traced the numbers on this new projection. Then her breath caught. "No," she whispered to the empty room. "The magnitude distribution is inverted. If they use this," she thought of coastal families, breakfast tables, children heading to school. Her pen trembled above the page. With shaking hands, this shy girl began correcting what an entire expert team had missed. She didn't hear the footsteps behind her, didn't sense the presence in the doorway. Dominic Hale, CEO, 35 years old, stood frozen, his sharp gray eyes fixed on the young woman who was fixing, in real time, the exact error his team had debated for 2 days. His pulse quickened. He'd grown up in a region devastated by earthquakes, losing his best friend to bad forecasting. Like the families affected by the Japan earthquake, he understood what happened when predictions failed. "This could cause a misinterpretation," Harper murmured, unaware she was being watched. "Dangerous." Dominic's jaw tightened. This wasn't just impressive, it was life-saving. The air conditioning hummed. Harper's pen scratched against paper, and in that moment, something shifted. Because talent, when hidden by pain, has a way of announcing itself when someone is finally ready to listen. What this shy girl didn't know was that her whisper had just changed everything. In the next 60 seconds, the CEO would speak, and Harper's carefully constructed invisibility would shatter in the most inspirational way possible. The silence broke like glass. "What are you doing with upper-level documents?" Harper's head snapped up. Sierra Madden stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Head of administration, 30 years old, the kind of woman who smiled with her mouth but never her eyes. "I was making unauthorized changes to executive materials." Sierra stepped forward, heels clicking. Do you understand the protocol violations? No. The word came from behind Sierra, low and commanding. Dominic Hale entered with quiet authority. Sierra's expression shifted instantly. Mr. Hale, I was addressing a potential breach. I heard. His eyes never left Harper. What I want to know is who corrected this projection. Harper gripped her desk edge. I noticed something was wrong. Dominic examined the document, his fingers tracing Harper's precise annotations. It's not wrong, he said quietly. It's preventing a dangerous misprojection. I've had 3 geologists arguing over this section for 48 hours. He looked at Harper. How long did it take you? About 90 seconds. The silence felt alive. An hour later, Harper sat outside the CEO's office, hands folded so tightly her knuckles whitened. Sierra appeared beside her, leaning close. People like you should know their place. When he's done using you, she straightened. Records clerks are replaceable. Before Harper could respond, the door opened. Dominic's office was all glass and steel with city views that made Harper dizzy. He gestured for her to sit. What did you study before this? He asked. The question pierced her chest. Earth systems, at the university, but after my mother died, Her voice cracked. She was killed in a seismic event. A 4.8 that wasn't supposed to hit our area. The forecast missed it by 3 hours and 42 minutes. Dominic set down his tablet and truly looked at her. The insomnia started after that. Harper continued. I can't sleep because I keep seeing the data, wondering if I could have saved her. Sometimes, Dominic said slowly, loss makes us think we failed. In truth, it just makes us see what others miss because we know what it costs to miss it. Something cracked open inside Harper's chest. Sierra appeared in the doorway. Mr. Hale, the partnership meeting is in 20 minutes. Harper will verify the forecast data first. Sierra froze. I've already reviewed everything personally. Then Harper's review should be quick. He turned to Harper. Can you stay late tonight? I need eyes I trust. Harper nodded, speechless. The records room at 9 p.m. was different. Harper sat surrounded by printouts, her whiteboard covered in calculations. Her hand trembled as she marked corrections. The numbers were wrong, not drastically, but enough to matter. Enough to shift evacuation timing. Enough to cost lives. The door opened. Still here. Mr. Whitaker, the records warehouse manager, shuffled in with 2 coffees. 63 years old, with kind eyes and hands gnarled from degenerative joint disease. He set a cup beside her. I used to do what you're doing, before my hands gave out. He gestured at her whiteboard. You've got the gift. Don't let fear cloud it. I'm terrified, Harper admitted. Mr. Whitaker smiled gently. The people who should be doing this work are always the ones scared they're not good enough. He squeezed her shoulder. This is your chance to honor your mother by protecting people she'll never meet. Harper's throat tightened. Don't waste that kid. The world needs people who care enough to tremble. After he left, Harper allowed herself 1 minute of tears. Then she picked up her pen and continued working. By midnight, she'd filled 17 pages with corrections and warnings. Upstairs, Dominic sat in his office staring at a photograph in his desk drawer. A boy 12 years old grinning at the camera. His best friend. Lost in an earthquake that came without warning. The forecast had been wrong by 4 minutes. He closed the drawer and examined Harper's corrected document. Her handwriting was precise, almost delicate, but the corrections were ruthlessly accurate. For the first time in years, Dominic allowed himself to hope. Tomorrow, everything would change. But first, Harper would discover that sometimes the people trying to silence you are the ones most afraid of what you see. Morning came too fast. Harper arrived at 6:30 a.m. with dark circles under her eyes. She clutched 17 pages of corrections like a lifeline. She left the folder on Dominic's desk with a note verified and corrected. HL. Then she fled to the records room before anyone could see her. By 9 a.m., the office buzzed with Monday energy. Harper buried herself in filing, trying to ignore the anxiety knot in her stomach. She'd probably overstepped, made a fool of herself. Harper. She looked up. Dominic stood in the doorway, her folder in his hand. My office, now. Sierra materialized from nowhere, falling into step. I can provide administrative support. That won't be necessary. Harper's legs felt numb walking through the office. People glanced up, curious. Inside his office, Dominic closed the door and stood by the window reading her corrections, page by page, in silence. Harper counted heartbeats. 15, 20, 43. Finally, he turned. Do you know what you've done? Harper's whisper emerged shakily. I'm sorry if I overstepped. You thought correctly. He set the folder down carefully. What you did last night, Harper, no one on my technical team could do this. 3 senior geologists reviewed this exact data. They settled for good enough. He paused. You didn't settle. You found 12 critical errors that could have caused us to underestimate seismic risk for half the California coastline. The room tilted. I checked the system logs, Dominic continued. You were the only person who corrected these projections accurately. Where did you learn this? My mother, Harper, heard herself say. She was a geologist. She'd bring work home explaining how to see patterns, how every number represents real people, real lives. Her voice cracked. She said I had a gift. But when she died because someone else got the numbers wrong, I didn't want the gift anymore. Dominic's expression softened. And I lost someone too. My best friend. We were 12. An earthquake hit without proper warning. He ran the wrong direction. 4 minutes. That's all it would have taken. He touched the folder. That's why I started this company. So no one else loses 4 minutes. The silence between them felt sacred. A sharp knock shattered it. Sierra entered without waiting, her smile bright and brittle. Mr. Hale, the San Francisco partnership team is ready to review the forecast data. I've prepared the presentation and incorporated the relevant adjustments, though I smoothed out some areas where Harper was overly cautious. Show me. Something dangerous flickered in Dominic's voice. Sierra pulled up her presentation, and Harper watched his jaw tighten with each slide. You removed the coastal cascade warnings. They seemed alarmist. They're accurate. He closed the presentation. Harper's analysis stays intact, unchanged. If San Francisco has questions, they'll ask Harper directly. Sierra's face paled. Mr. Hale, with respect, Harper is a records clerk. She doesn't have credentials. Credentials. Dominic's voice dropped to something cold and precise. Credentials didn't catch these errors. Credentials compromised the data to make it presentable. Harper did what everyone else failed to do. She told the truth. He turned to Harper. I'm sending your analysis to our expert verification team. When they validate it, and I believe they will, you'll present it yourself. Harper's vision swam. Present, I can't. You can. His voice gentled. The hardest part isn't speaking. It's having something worth saying. And Harper, you do. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Harper returned to the records room, but everything felt different. Mr. Whitaker found her during lunch sitting alone. Heard the CEO sent your work to the National Verification Team, he said, settling beside her. Harper nodded, unable to speak. You know what that means? You're not invisible anymore. Someone saw you. Really saw you. He patted her hand. The question is, are you ready? I don't know, Harper whispered. What if I'm wrong? What if I humiliate him? What if you're right? Mr. Whitaker interrupted gently. What if your mother's gift didn't die with her? What if it's been waiting inside you, just needing someone to believe in it? Harper's tears fell. The quietest people are often those who've hurt the most, Mr. Whitaker continued. But they're also the ones who see what truly matters. This could be your moment, turning grief into protection for thousands of strangers. After he left, Harper sat in the quiet records room where she'd hidden for 3 years. The space that had felt like sanctuary now felt like a cage she'd built herself. At 4:47 p.m., Dominic's email arrived. Subject verification complete, Harper. The expert team confirmed your analysis. Every correction, every warning. They're calling it the most thorough seismic risk assessment they've reviewed this year. Meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. You'll present to the San Francisco partnership team. Don't be afraid. I'll be there. D.H. Harper read it 3 times, hands shaking. Then she looked at her reflection in the darkened screen. For the first time in 3 years, she didn't look away from the person staring back. That night, Harper barely slept, not from insomnia but from something different. Anticipation. Hope. She prepared, surrounded by notes and calculations, and in the darkness of her apartment, she felt her mother's presence not as grief, but as a gentle hand guiding her home. Tomorrow would bring the moment of truth, and a betrayal that would force her to find her voice when it mattered most. The conference room on the 23rd floor was all glass walls and leather chairs. Harper had never been this high in the building. Through the windows, the city stretched out like a promise. She arrived 15 minutes early, clutching her presentation notes. Sierra was already there, arranging folders. When she saw Harper, her smile was tight. Oh, Harper, how lovely. She gestured to a chair near the back. Observers usually stay out of the main discussion. She's not observing. Dominic entered, commanding immediate attention. She's presenting. Sierra's smile faltered. Of course. I just thought, given the high-profile nature of this partnership, I could handle the technical presentation. Harper provides the analysis, Dominic said flatly. You coordinate administration. At exactly 10 a.m., the San Francisco team joined via video conference. 3 faces appeared on the screen, 2 men in their 50s, 1 woman who looked sharp as glass. Dr. Richard Mora, lead seismologist for the California Geological Survey, spoke first. Mr. Hale, we've reviewed the updated risk projections. Impressive work. We have questions about the coastal cascade warnings in sectors 7 through 12. Those are significantly more aggressive than previous models. Dominic looked at Harper. Ms. Lane can address that. Every eye turned to her. Harper stood, legs trembling, but when she opened her mouth, her mother's voice whispered in memory. You read data like poetry, sweetheart. Show them the rhythm. The previous models assumed independent seismic events. Harper began, her voice steady. But when you layer historical data from 1906, 1989, and the microquake sequences from 2014 to 2023, you see a pattern. The fault lines don't move in isolation, they cascade. Like dominoes. She pulled up her analysis. If we only prepare for single events, we underestimate risk by a factor of 3. These coastal sectors are interconnected. If one goes, the others follow within 48 hours. Dr. Mora's expression shifted from skeptical to intensely focused. Show me your baseline calculations. Harper walked them through it, every assumption, every data point, every conclusion. She forgot to be afraid. She just spoke the language her mother had taught her. When she finished, Dr. Mora sat back. Only someone who has witnessed the consequences would spend this much time on each number. Harper's throat tightened. My mother died in a seismic event that wasn't properly forecasted. I know what it costs when we get it wrong. The room went still. Dr. Sarah Chen spoke next. Mr. Hale, who corrected this anomaly because it changes our entire projection. Without it, we'd underestimate risk for at least 3 coastal cities. Dominic's eyes never left Harper. She did. Ms. Harper Lane. Dr. Chen smiled genuinely. Ms. Lane, would you consult on the full California Seismic Preparedness Initiative? We need someone with your precision. Before Harper could respond, Sierra stood. Actually, Sierra said smoothly, I should mention that I assisted significantly with this analysis. The corrections were collaborative work. I supervised the methodology. No. Dominic's voice cut through the room like ice. The system logged everything. He projected his tablet onto the screen. This is the metadata from our document management system. Sierra's face drained of color. The log was damning. Harper Lane 47 corrections, 12 cascade warnings, 3 methodology notes. Sierra Madden 0 corrections, 0 warnings, 0 notes. The only modification you made, Dominic said quietly, was attempting to remove Harper's coastal warnings. You tried to smooth them out, which would have made this presentation dangerously incomplete. Sierra's mouth opened, closed. I was trying to make it more presentable. You were trying to take credit for someone else's work while simultaneously undermining it. The silence crushed. Dr. Mora cleared his throat. Ms. Lane, the offer stands. We'd be honored to have you. Harper nodded, speechless. When the San Francisco team signed off, the room emptied quickly, everyone except Dominic, Harper, and Sierra. Sierra stood frozen. Mr. Hale, I can explain. Explain why you tried to sabotage a project that could save lives because you were afraid someone might outshine you. Sierra's voice broke. I've worked here 6 years, and then this shy girl shows up, and in 2 days she gets everything I've been working toward. No, Dominic said firmly. Harper earned recognition through exceptional work. You attempted to steal it. Those aren't the same. You're being transferred to internal coordination, Dominic continued. You'll work with HR on attribution protocols. You're not being fired, Sierra, but you are being held accountable. Sierra nodded mutely and left. When the door closed, Harper exhaled. Are you okay? Dominic asked. I don't know, Harper whispered. I should be angry, but mostly I feel sad for her. Dominic smiled, small, surprised, genuine. That's because you understand something Sierra hasn't learned. Success isn't zero-sum. Your light doesn't diminish anyone else's. He moved beside her at the window. You did something remarkable today, he said quietly. You stepped into the light. Despite fear, grief, people trying to push you back, you stepped forward anyway. Harper turned to him. You made it possible. You saw me when I was invisible. No. Dominic shook his head. You were never invisible, Harper. You were just waiting for someone who knew how to look. In that moment, surrounded by glass and sky, Harper felt something shift inside her chest. Not healing, not yet, but the first warm promise of it. And the story wasn't over, because healing isn't a moment, it's a journey. And for Harper and Dominic, that journey was just beginning. The afternoon sun painted the conference room gold. Harper stood at the window, watching the city shift from business to rush hour. You're still here. She turned. Dominic had returned carrying 2 paper cups of coffee. He offered her one. I didn't know what you liked, so I guessed. Cream, no sugar. That's perfect. Harper took it, warmed by the gesture. How did you know? I pay attention. He stood beside her. Details matter. Small things often save us. Harper sipped her coffee. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you really defend me when Sierra tried to take credit? You could have smoothed it over. It would have been easier. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Because 12 years ago, I watched someone take credit for my best friend's earthquake preparedness research. After he died, his supervisor presented it all as his own work. I was just a kid without power to speak up. So I stayed silent. Harper's heart clenched. I promised myself, Dominic continued, that if I ever had power, I'd use it to protect people who couldn't protect themselves, to make sure the right voices got heard, especially when those voices shake. He turned to her. Your voice shakes, Harper, but it speaks truth. Truth is worth protecting. Harper felt tears building. I spent 3 years believing I wasn't good enough, that my gift died with my mother. You were her daughter, not her prophet. Dominic's voice was gentle but firm. You couldn't have prevented what happened. That's why we do this work, not because we can prevent every tragedy, but because we can minimize them. Every life saved is a victory. She used to say that. Harper's voice broke. She said every accurate forecast was a love letter to strangers, a way of saying, I see you, you matter, run. Dominic nodded slowly. She sounds like someone who understood what we're really doing here. She would have liked you, Harper said softly. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sun lower toward the horizon. What happens now? Harper asked finally. Now, Dominic smiled. Now you become the Risk Analysis Fellow for Hale and Frontier. It's a new position I'm creating specifically for you. You'll work directly with the executive team and consult on high-priority projects. He paused. If you want it. Harper's coffee cup trembled. I'm not sure I'm ready. Neither was I when I started this company. Dominic faced her fully. Ready isn't a feeling, Harper. It's a decision. It's choosing to step forward even when your hands shake. And if I fail, then you'll fail while trying something that matters. That's infinitely better than succeeding at staying invisible. Harper looked down at her coffee, then up again, eyes clear. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it. Dominic's smile transformed his face, younger, lighter, like someone setting down a long-carried burden. Good. He raised his coffee cup slightly, to stepping into the light. Harper clinked her cup against his. To finding people who know how to look. That evening, as Harper gathered her things from the records room, Mr. Whitaker appeared. Heard you're moving up in the world, he said, eyes crinkling with pride. Thanks to you. Harper hugged him quickly. You told me not to let fear cloud my gift. I almost didn't listen. But you did. He patted her back gently. That's courage, kid. Not the absence of fear, just the refusal to let it make your decisions. Harper pulled back, wiping her eyes. What if I forget how to breathe up there? Then you come back down and visit an old man who believes in you. He squeezed her shoulder. This is your moment, Harper. You're reclaiming the light that was always yours. As Harper carried her boxes toward the elevator, she paused at the records room door one last time. The space looked smaller now, less like sanctuary, more like a cocoon she'd outgrown. She thought of her mother. She thought of Dominic's lost friend. She thought of all the people silenced by tragedy or grief. And she made a promise she would use her voice. Not loudly, not aggressively, but truthfully. The elevator doors opened. Harper stepped inside, and as she rose toward her new life, she felt for the first time in 3 years like she was finally moving in the right direction. 2 weeks later, Harper stood on the rooftop terrace of Hale and Frontier, a space she'd never known existed. The city stretched beneath her like a living tapestry, lights beginning to flicker as dusk settled. She'd come up here to think, to breathe, to process the whirlwind transformation her life had become. Risk analysis fellow, her own office, a team that listened when she spoke, consulting calls with national seismic agencies, and for the first time in 3 years, the insomnia was fading. She was sleeping through the night, not perfectly, but better. The weight on her chest was lifting. "You're hard to find." Harper turned. Dominic stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. He'd loosened his tie. "I needed air," she admitted. "Me too." He joined her at the railing, both watching the sun bleed orange across the sky. "How are you adjusting?" Honestly, still terrified. Harper laughed shakily. "When every meeting I'm waiting for someone to realize I don't belong there." "You were never just a records clerk," Dominic said quietly. "You were someone extraordinary doing ordinary work because you were afraid of being seen." Harper looked at him. Really looked. In this light, he seemed less like an untouchable CEO and more like someone who understood exactly what it felt like to carry grief. "You know," Dominic continued, his eyes distant, "your voice when you corrected those numbers that first day. It sounded exactly like my friend before he died. Clear, steady, unheard." Harper's breath caught. "He used to talk about earthquake patterns like you do," Dominic said softly. "Like they were a language. He wanted to translate them for everyone else. Save them. Like the scientists who studied the Japan earthquake, trying to understand the patterns to prevent future tragedies." His jaw tightened. But no one listened. And when the earthquake hit, all his warnings died with him. "I'm sorry," Harper whispered. "Don't be." Dominic turned to her, tears gleaming. "Because right now your work is saving people he'll never meet. The coastal cities that would have been underprepared, they're implementing new evacuation protocols because of your analysis. Thousands of people who don't know your name are safer because you refuse to stay silent." Harper's tears spilled over. "I lost my mom because of a faulty forecast. I always felt like if I'd been smarter, faster, better at reading the data." "You couldn't have saved her," Dominic said gently. "You were her daughter, Harper, not her savior. That wasn't your job. Then what was? To love her, to learn from her, to carry her gift forward." He smiled, small, sad, beautiful. "You're doing that. Every correction you make, every life you protect, that's your mother's legacy living through you." Harper covered her face, shoulders shaking. Dominic hesitated, then pulled her into an embrace. Careful, respectful, but warm. She leaned into him, crying the tears she'd held back for 3 years. "You're not invisible anymore, Harper," he murmured. "You never were. You were just waiting to be found." They stood like that, as the sun set, two people broken by loss, holding each other together in the space between grief and healing. When Harper finally pulled back, wiping her eyes, she found Dominic watching her with an expression that made her heart stumble. "Thank you," she said, "for seeing me. Thank you for letting yourself be seen." His hand rested on the railing close to hers. After a moment, Harper slid her hand across until their fingers touched, light as a question. Dominic's hand turned palm up. an answer. Harper placed her hand in his, and they stood there not quite together, not quite separate, watching the city light up beneath them. "You know what the best part is?" Dominic asked softly. "What?" "This is just the beginning, for both of us." Harper smiled, real bright, unafraid. "I think my mother would have liked that. I think my friend would have too." And as stars emerged above them, Harper felt something she hadn't felt in years, hope. Not fragile, desperate hope, but solid, enduring hope that says, "I am here. I am seen. I am enough." The kind of hope that heals. This heartwarming moment, two broken people finding wholeness together, was the truest form of inspiration Harper had ever known. Every transformation has a moment where broken pieces finally fit together, where pain becomes purpose and silence becomes song. 2 months passed. Harper's life transformed. She presented at conferences, mentored junior analysts, and spoke at a university symposium about earthquake preparedness. When students asked for her autograph, she cried in the bathroom for 10 minutes. The insomnia was gone. It had never been physical, just grief wearing the mask of illness. With purpose restored, Harper slept peacefully for the first time in years. On a quiet Saturday, Harper brought a small cake to Mr. Whitaker's office in the records warehouse. "What's this for?" he asked, eyes twinkling. "For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself." Mr. Whitaker smiled. "Kindness comes full circle, kid. You're just reclaiming the light that was always yours." They sat together in the quiet room where Harper's transformation had begun. "The quietest people are often those who've hurt the most," Mr. Whitaker said. "But they're also the ones who see what truly matters." He raised his coffee cup. You've turned your pain into purpose, your loss into legacy. That's the rarest kind of courage." As Harper left the warehouse, she paused. Through a window, she could see Dominic waiting by his car. When he spotted her, his face transformed. That smile she treasured, the one that said, "I see you, and I'm glad you're here." She walked toward him, and together they drove into the city, two people once broken by loss, now finding their way toward something new. Something like healing. Something like hope. Sierra's story ended quietly too. After months of hard work, she approached Harper one afternoon. "I owe you an apology, a real one. I was so afraid of being overlooked that I tried to make you invisible. You deserved better. I'm sorry." Harper studied her, then extended her hand. "Thank you for saying that." They shook, not friends, perhaps, but no longer enemies.